I don't know how many of you got to watch the Seahawks game yesterday. It was a lot of fun, very instructive because it's obviously two future opponents for the Texans. One in the Seattle Seahawks, which the Texans will see on Monday night, and of course, secondly, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Got me feeling the appropriate level of fear about the Seahawks. That's that old saying in the coaching ranks. You want Greg Popovich, I believe, the appropriate level of fear for your opponent. Certainly some things that Seahawks can do to unsettle the Texans. And that also got me feeling a little bit better about maybe how the Jaguars look 4 weeks from now when the Texans face him, some of the problems that are starting to crop up there. But we'll save that for a few weeks. First and foremost, if you read the box scores or saw any of the highlights from this game, pass rush. The Seahawks had a better pass rush than I think it looked like it on paper. They showed up in droves in this game. 7 sacks, 25 pressures on Trevor Lawrence. They did a lot of it with 4-man pass rushes. So our old bugaboo here in Houston is the games by the defensive linemen. And what you're going to see here is a classic TE game where the 3 technique there is going to rush upfield, set a pick for the defensive end on the outside, and the Jaguars do not handle it well. Walker Little, their left tackle, had a rough day. I've got another rough snap of his coming up. But really, I think one common theme for a lot of these sacks was that Trevor did not really he didn't feel confident getting rid of the ball quickly. Not blaming him for this sack specifically, but the Seahawks did a good job of, I think, fixing things early on with their coverage. They had some blown coverages early in the game that they patched up, and it was given a murky look to Trevor Lawrence. I think there were some times where Trevor Lawrence didn't see the same thing as receivers did. It looked like he was holding onto the ball, expecting his receivers to make a different choice on a choice route. And then by that time, the pass rush was good enough that it got there. So Seahawks did not pressure a whole bunch. When they did, it was pretty damn effective. This is a Drake Thomas sack. That's Walker Little again. This was ugly, man. I hate that the All-22 is available to the public at large because back in my day, that might not ever, it wasn't highlighted on the broadcast necessarily. You couldn't see that it was just as devastating. My God. And Drake Thomas does not skip leg days. Look at that stocky little fire plug of a mother dude. That was nice. This one, look, Trevor's got his back turns, assessing downfield, and there's somebody in his face. Not going to blame Trevor Lawrence for that one, certainly. But the offensive line for the Texans, I think this is what I don't want to get lulled into a false sense of confidence based on the fact that the Texans have looked better in pass protection the last couple of weeks, but they've also faced 2 teams that had horrendous pass rushes. The Titans only had 2 sacks on the season coming into Houston, and one of those sacks was by a defensive back that wasn't even a rush. It was just tapping the quarterback down. So I've still very much got my daubers up, old Tom Coughlin phrase, about the potential pass rush threats. Here's D'Amico Ryans, who I think gave a more realistic assessment of the offensive line than Nick Caserio did when we spoke to him last week. D'Amico Ryans on where the offensive line is right now.
Our offensive line they've improved, I think, just overall with how we're running the football now, just eliminating the negative run plays, allowing plays to get started. Guys are getting a hat on a hat, being where they're supposed to be. And we still have things to clean up when it comes to protections and things that are happening that we have to get fixed, that we've talked about and worked multiple times, that we still have to clean up. So it's not where it needs to be right now, but we're doing a really solid job up front. Titus playing really good up front as well. So we got some guys doing some good things. Just got to continue to rein it in and play collectively much better.
Yeah, I think from an individual player standpoint, I'm not as concerned about those guys as I am the miscommunications and some of the, both of those, the one sack that both of the sacks really that CJ took in the Ravens game, there was at least one person on the wrong page, possibly 2, or maybe the entire operation. And then you go back to the Titans game, that Jeffrey Simmons sack, clearly the offensive linemen were on different pages. Some of the guys got the check, some of the guys didn't. I'm glad that the bye week came when it did, because communication errors and it's a part of the process that really needs to be emphasized. And you gotta, one of my least favorite coaches ever was Richard Smith. You guys know this, the defensive coordinator for the Texans. One thing that he was really correct on, and one thing that he always drilled in, was that good teams are loud teams. The communication is loud. It's redundant. If you have to make the call once, then you might as well make it 3 times, and you got to do it loud. And that's where getting up to the line of scrimmage and having time to do it, CJ being able to reiterate his call, be sure everybody's got it in a loud environment up there in Seattle, that's going to be big this week. And I'm glad they've got an extra week to work on it. The other big concern coming out of this game, or the guy to watch, is Jackson Smith-Njigba. And Njigba, he's gone from just being a slot type guy to taking 75% of his snaps on the outside. Cooper Kupp, people talked about like, well, what are you going to do with both Cooper Kupp and Jackson Smith-Njigba? We're just going to move Jackson Smith-Njigba to the outside. If there was one common theme on a lot of his plays and receptions, I think it's discipline in the secondary. I mean, you've got outside leverage, keep outside leverage. And they didn't. Jackson Smith-Njigba is a really good route runner and really crafty at getting guys to guess wrong. But then in just kind of carving up zone coverage, it's a great throw by a good job by pass protection, but then also Sam Darnold just knowing where to go with the ball. I think this is a really, this is blown. The safety doesn't help out Greg Newsome as much as maybe Greg Newsome was suspecting. Bites on something underneath. And like this is the kind of stuff that obviously we can't allow Jackson Smith-Njigba to be doing in this game. I'll kind of roll one of these up into, this is really good route running there. I'm working on Greg Newsome again. Boop. Keep your outside leverage, young men. Keep your outside leverage. I'll go back to that one in a second when we talk about Drake May, about Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, Drake May, whichever pasty dude is playing better than people thought he was going to. The big question for me in this game, and this is again why I'm glad that there was an earlier bye week, Derek Stingley. Derek Stingley has been fighting through this flexor issue or what is it? It's an oblique issue. Whatever his issue is, he's been fighting through this the entire season. Him having an extra week to rest, recuperate, recover, and be out there 100% could be big in this game. Last couple of weeks, he hasn't traveled. He's just stayed there right on the left side. This would be a week where maybe you want to have him travel with Jackson Smith-Njigba. Might also be a week, if you go back to Puka Nacua, guy that could play in the slot or play outside, it'd be a good week maybe for Kamari Lassiter to play a little bit of slot. So if they figure out a way to mix and match and change things up defensively in a way that Jacksonville really couldn't. Remember, they got Greg Newsome out there. He's been on the team for like 48 hours, and they've got him out there in some tough situations, having to make tough covers and tough decisions versus Jackson Smith-Njigba. He's the guy. The explosives are something that the Texans have struggled with in the past, and I want to be sure that they nip that in the bud, and Derek Stingley being healthy would be a big part of that. With Sam Darnold, the one thing that I was impressed with him, on a day where the Seahawks were 1 for 12 on third down, it wasn't like an awesome offensive day for the Seahawks. It's just that they hit some of these explosives in opportune times. But if we watch Jackson Smith-Njigba, and I think this is the last one here. Yep, this is the one. So this, on the TV broadcast, you could tell the play was held up to give by rule, the defense has time to match personnel. And the Jaguars were struggling to get lined up properly and to get the proper people in. So they just flat out lined up in the look that they were going to be in. Sam Darnold checked the play at the line of scrimmage and pretty much just knew exactly what he was going to get. Jackson Smith-Njigba, boom, hits to the inside, comes out, and it was an easy 15 or 20 yards for him. Like, Darnold is playing like a smart quarterback, and he's taking care of the football. The Jaguars defense, which is feasted on turnovers, didn't take the ball away at all in this game. Game was actually a lot closer than the score might suggest, because that rookie kicker of the Jaguars missed an extra point, then he missed a 50-yard field goal, and then because of that, the Jaguars were in a position where they went for 2. So if it easily could have been 20-17, but as the game was still within reach for the Jaguars, Clint Kubiak is the offensive coordinator. Tell me if this looks like the type of play that an offensive coordinator named Kubiak might dial up. Roll out to the left, throw back to a tight end. Like that's classic Gary Kubiak, Owen Daniels, just whatever. Being disciplined versus play action is going to be big in this game. You watch the safety up here in the top left of the screen. Just boop, that's enough. And Owen Daniels, a larger version of Owen Daniels, wide open across the center of the field. And that was late in the game, so that pretty much ended. That was pretty much the game for the Seahawks at that point. The turnovers, we've started to see this out of the Texans defense starting to come in droves, and hopefully there in Seattle, where weirdly Mike Macdonald has a losing record in Seattle, which is usually a really good home field advantage there, and then he's 9-1 or 10-1 on the road. So Chris Myers, the broadcaster, kept promising to tell us a story about what Mike Macdonald's theory is about all of that, but they never got to it. The broadcast was plagued with all kinds of audio issues. Very, very annoying. I might try to get Mark Schlereth on later this week because he was the color commentator. The Seahawks run defense. If we go to D'Amico talking about one of the things that's changed in the last couple of weeks, this is D'Amico on the coach's show with Mark Vandermeer and John Harris talking about committing to the run game.
Yeah, for us, the thing I liked about the offense, again, the second week in a row is just our commitment to the run game, right? For Kaylee to continue to stay committed to it. And the more you start to run it, you start to pop a few, right? Nick had a really nice run there. We're getting some 2-3 yards run, and there you go, man. There's a 7-9 yard run. Nico getting the jet sweep runner. There was so many different ways that we ran the football yesterday, and that allows us to open up the play action game. And you see CJ play action, drop back, and he has time. O-line did a great job protecting, right, and he's able to deliver to Higgs, to Nico, to everybody because of the running game. So everything starts there, and I know I say it all the time, but to actually see it, you just see how it opens up our offense. Now you get the defense who has to commit to the run game. Second-level guys, they have to bite up for the run fakes, and now we have guys wide open all over the field.
So this will be the big test for their commitment and devotion to the run game this week. The Seahawks are the second leading rush defense in the league, just by plain old yards per game, okay? I'm sure by EPA and everything, they're just fine too. But their ability to commit to the run game, even if it's not going well early on. Our commitment as fans to the run game, to not tweet angrily in the first half if it's not going so hot, but they keep running. I'm going to keep reminding myself, like, all right. The Seahawks versus the Jaguars, who run the ball pretty damn well. What's his name? Why the frickin' am I? Why am I screwing up his name? Oh, ETN. My God. You know what, ETN? Because it should be ATN, and then I remember it as ETN, just the three letters. It screws me up even more. ETN was averaging like 6 yards per carry coming into this game. The thing about the Seahawks run defense in this game was the Jaguars were lined up in a lot of 2 tight end sets, and the Seahawks just stayed in nickel. And the Seahawks are banged up in the secondary, and yet we're still doing a lot of things to confuse Trevor Lawrence in coverage. But then also versus the run, they were stopping the run out of nickel personnel versus a potentially menacing rushing attack. So the commitment to the run game is going to be big this week, and we'll see. The offensive line, where they've improved a lot in the run game, is they're not allowing as much penetration into the backfield, many fewer tackles for loss and whatnot. The all-line needs to continue to keep getting up to the second level better, getting on linebackers, getting on safeties, all of that stuff. Hopefully the bye week gets them another week to get that right. All right, let's grab some comments. Having Stingler closer to peak health will be huge for us. I have a lot of confidence that the defense can shut down the Seagulls. Question is offense being able to operate in a loud environment, right? And we talked about, hey, communication has been the issue in a lot of these sacks haven't been physical breakdowns as much as communication issues, whether it's CJ's fault, the offensive line's fault for not adjusting, tight ends, running backs, all of those things. It's just there's too many times where they're not on the same page. So communication is huge this week. I hope we win next Monday, but I'm honestly happy for Sam Darnold. Everyone kept saying he only played well because of the Vikings system. Yeah, and you look at, hey, Daniel Jones had a cup of coffee there in Minnesota as well, and he's doing all right. I think the big question now with Kevin O'Connell is he become a guy that's really good at developing quarterbacks, but not necessarily that great at picking which one? You know, like I always worried about that with Kubiak. Kubiak was so good at getting the best out of guys like Matt Schaub, but also Sage Rosenfels or Case Keenum or anybody else like that you worried that almost they didn't have an appreciation for the genuinely great quarterbacks and what they can do. But I'm not that I'm putting Sam Darnold in the genuinely great category right now, but it's also a cautionary tale for what, how quick you should be to rush to judgment. As Baker Mayfield is playing like the MVP of the league right now, as Sam Darnold is doing what he's doing, Daniel Jones and all of that. It's just a reminder, like, all right, pump the brakes here. All right. Just as like CJ's going through some struggles this season and last season, but he's also doing some really good things. Let's just pump the brakes, get through this 4-game stretch. I'm feeling a lot better about this 4-game stretch just because I didn't want to think about home field advantage being such a big deal when you're trying to be super nerdy about everything and analytical. There's a big part of it that's just, hey, they're going to have 4 games in a row of playing at noon every Sunday after this Monday night game, and that pass rush really getting it going and just making it as easy as possible for the offense to operate. CJ's going to have 3 straight games of a quiet environment. See, of the 4 next games, I would say the Seahawks are the team that probably travels the best. That would have been might as well play this one on the road because every time you play the Seahawks, it seems like 20,000 Seahawks fans show up and you don't end up having as good of a home field advantage as you typically would. Also, shout out to Kasia. Kasia, I don't know if you knew this or not. Somebody did a study, I think it was Vegas Insider, on level of profanity used by various fan bases, and they based it on their subreddits. And I know that Kasia is a moderator on the Texans subreddit. Texans were the third most congenial fan base in terms of profanity used. So I'll credit you for keeping it clean and civil over there. Indianapolis Colts, biggest potty mouths in the league. Midwesterners, and somehow they made it to the top of that list. It's a damn shame. It's a damn shame, this world we live in. Get your shit together, Indianapolis.